9 experienced hikers, 1 frozen mountain, and a tent, slashed open from the inside. On February 1st, 1959, a group of young explorers set up camp on a remote slope in the Ural Mountains of Russia. They were strong, they were trained, they were prepared, but sometime during that night, something happened, something so terrifying, that they cut their way out of their own tent and ran barefoot into -30-degree temperatures. Weeks later, rescuers found their bodies scattered across the snow, some frozen, some with crushed skulls, one missing her tongue. No signs of struggle. No footprints except theirs. No clear explanation. What could make 9 experienced hikers choose freezing to death, overstaying inside their tent? Tonight, we're diving deep into one of the most disturbing unsolved mysteries in history. This is the Dyatlov Pass Incident. The group was led by Igor Dyatlov, a 23-year-old engineering student. He was experienced, confident, and respected among his peers. The team consisted of 8 other hikers, students and graduates from the Ural Polytechnic Institute. They weren't thrill-seeking amateurs. They were certified Grade 3 hikers, the highest level in the Soviet Union at that time. This expedition was supposed to earn them advanced certification. It was a challenging winter trek across the northern Ural Mountains. Remote, cold, unforgiving, but manageable for people like them. Originally, there were 10 members, but one turned back early due to illness. That decision saved his life. The remaining 9 continued forward. None of them would return. The expedition began in late January 1959. They traveled by train, truck, and finally skis. They documented everything in journals. They took photographs. They joked. They laughed. They sang. Nothing in their diaries suggests fear or panic. On January 31st, they reached the edge of a mountain known as Kholat Syakhl. In the local Mansi language, that name means Mountain of the Dead. An eerie name, but historically it referred to hunting traditions, not tragedy. Still, the name would become disturbingly fitting. On February 1st, they decided to set up camp on the slope, instead of moving to a forested area below. It was an unusual choice. The slope offered little protection from wind, but they were experienced. They likely believed they could handle it. That night would be their last. We don't know exactly what happened after they went to sleep. But we know this. Sometime during the night, they cut their tent open from the inside. Not the entrance. They slashed through the fabric. Investigators later confirmed this. It wasn't torn from outside. It wasn't damaged by animals. It was intentionally cut. Inside the tent, rescuers found boots, coats, blankets, personal belongings, meaning they left in a rush, underdressed. In extreme cold, temperatures that night dropped to around -25 to -30 degrees Celsius. Running outside without proper clothing was almost certain death. So why did they do it? When the group failed to return by the expected date, families demanded a search operation. Weeks later, rescuers found the tent. Collapsed under snow, slashed open, footprints led away from the tent. And here's something chilling. The footprints showed no signs of chaos. They weren't running wildly. They were walking, calmly, in a single direction, as if they left voluntarily. The first 2 bodies were found near a cedar tree at the edge of a forest. They were barefoot, wearing only underwear. They had attempted to light a fire. Branches above them were broken, suggesting they tried climbing the tree, likely trying to see the tent, or something else. Over the next weeks, more bodies were found. 3 were discovered between the tree and the tent. It looked like they were trying to crawl back, trying to return to safety. They never made it. Months later, when snow melted, the final 4 were found in a ravine, and that's when the mystery deepened. These 4 had severe internal injuries. 1 had a crushed skull. Another had massive chest trauma. Doctors said the force was comparable to a car crash, but here's the strange part. There were no external wounds to match the internal damage, no defensive injuries, no signs of a fight. 1 female hiker was missing her tongue and part of her lips, soft tissue damage that investigators struggled to explain. Adding to the mystery, some clothing showed traces of radiation, not high enough to be lethal. but abnormal. Over the decades, many theories have emerged. Avalanche, but investigators argued the slope wasn't steep enough, and the tent was still partially standing. Military testing. Some believe secret Soviet experiments caused panic. Strange lights were reported in the sky that night, and radiation was found. Infrasound theory. Certain wind conditions can create low-frequency vibrations that induce intense fear and panic. Could sound alone have driven them out, or something else entirely? No signs of another group. No signs of struggle. No animal attacks. Officially, the case was closed with the explanation, a compelling natural force. But that's not really an explanation. What terrifies people most about Dyatlov Pass is not what we know. It's what we don't. 9 intelligent, experienced hikers made a decision that night. A decision so urgent, so terrifying, that freezing to death outside seemed safer than staying inside their tent. Whatever stood beyond that fabric wall, whatever they saw, heard, or felt, was enough. The mountain kept its secret. And to this day, the wind over Dyatlov Pass still blows across that frozen slope, as if nothing ever happened. But something did. And maybe we were never meant to understand it.